The Department of Art and Art History is proud to present the 2021 Senior Thesis Exhibition. Representing the culmination of 4 years of creative activity for each of our 5 art majors, the show exhibits original artworks that range from painting and sculpture to animation and installation. Beck Heyman's decorative installation pays homage to her interests in art history and science. By dissecting and reconstructing references as varied as microscopic views of tissue and gynecological models, Beck arranges anatomical components with interest in scale, detail, color, and shape, seeking the kind of balance one might find in a floral arrangement. These bodily ornaments celebrate biological illustrations and scientific diagrams, recontextualizing them in a fine art lineage with bold graphic color and distinctively handmade surface. Beck's composed images act as ornate architectural details in their scale, thus becoming both object and environment for the viewer.
These paintings are beautifully decorative bouquets of body parts, a Frankensteinian rave of psychedelic colors that allow the audience to get lost in the abstract moments where colored marks come together to reflect the forms within us. There's something about the way our insides squish and twist and cuddle together inside our abdomens that just needs to be celebrated for their slimy, smooth beauty. The human body is full of forms, shapes, and patterns, where the sinew of muscle are stripes, cells are polka dots, and aortas have scalloped edges. Instead of a scalpel, however, I just navigate the human body by way of paintbrush and gouache, collaging together playfully colorful, tumorous masses of organs and guts.
A signature of Krista Leibowitz's sculptures is her discovery of organic, even futuristic forms to generate objects that imply function, however limited or absurd. The sculptures are adjacent to everyday domestic objects like a chair or a candle holder, but each has a life of its own thanks to Krista's ironic use of materials and playful exploration of color and touch. The sculptures invite interaction from the viewer, luring us to investigate the process by which they have been handmade and provoking imagined interaction with them. Krista's sculptures pose as animate objects and self-contained characters which carry their own personal histories, desires, and attachments.
I've found that there is a power in reliability, in permanence, in straight lines, and in right angles, in objects that want for nothing other than to be used for their banal, utterly important single job. I've also found that there's a power in twirls and swirls and nonsensical lines, in angles that don't amount to a square or a circle, but end up caught in between the two, in makeshift fixes and in objects that bring color and humor and nothing more into our lives. At the intersection of these two thoughts is where I find myself, caught mid-act, one hand holding a ruler and another reaching for something garishly orange and fluffy. My work, then, is an attempt to bring paradoxes to fruition, to marry functionality with inefficacy, to blend utility with uselessness, to merge whimsy with the rationale, to join craft with fine art. By reimagining everyday objects through this lens, I'm able to create space where these anomalies can live, can be both lamp and friend, so I can ultimately stir our hardened ideas of what objects are, what they do, what they mean to us, and what they can be.
Ruby Lohman's large-scale watercolors explore the perception of self via inventive portraits which utilize her own body or a version of it. Using distortion, strange perspectives, and dramatized scale, Ruby reinvents and reinterprets her self-portrait to reflect her own changing observations of self.
My brain is at odds with my body and my femininity. It seems only fitting that the girl who never wanted to grow into a woman got a massive set of boobs. My art is an appreciation, but also a light mockery of the methods I use to rationalize my own body. I tell myself things like, love your body because it's used to feed your babies. Oddly enough, this sentiment doesn't work super well when you're not a mother and you plan on getting a breast reduction in June. My art displays my naked body to show its dysmorphic, bulbous, asymmetrical qualities. My pieces are physical representations of my rationalizations and coping mechanisms that are far past their expiration date.
Gunnar Smith's creative practice encompasses animation, video, and painting. His work in this exhibition includes paintings which cohere a combination of processes, including painting in plein air, painting from original and appropriated photos, and painting from digital collage. His work evokes the history of painting while preserving an exploratory narrative process that's strongly dependent on color and pattern. The paintings are flamboyant and celebratory in their use of material and color, although figures in the paintings often appear isolated or melancholy. Through his work, Gunnar expresses the joy of everyday fantasies, contrasted by contemporary anxieties about finding or missing intimate connections with lovers and friends.
I took off my clothes, started skinny dipping in the kitchen sink. It was fun at first, but a couple years later, I'm drowning in soaked rags and white bubbles. You happen to be dipping your toes in the water. You frolic because it is still fun in games, crawling out like nothing can ever hold you back, walking towards the towel on the drying rack. You wrap your waist and just laugh. My hands cup water or try and splash or try to tell or ask how you could feel so clean after leaving me in your water in the kitchen sink. Sometimes I still want you to come play with me, but you have already walked away in your clean towel. I will paint us as pirates or on the ideal date, or maybe I will only paint my life without you. It's a sacrifice I'm willing to make, disgusted by the materiality of the paint. I am patient. I want you to feel my love, or to know that it will be used for something else. Don't be angry with me. I just want you to see that I won't have to spend my life under the dirty dishes of the kitchen sink.
Natalie Tamaz Guerrero gives viewers an intimate peek into her multiplicity of private selves with a hand-drawn pop-up book. Using abstraction as a method to describe elements of her personality that feel at times disconnected from the outside world and each other, she offers us a glimpse into a strange interior landscape where she can approach, cuddle, conversate with, and attempt to integrate representations of herself. The book in the exhibition is both a series of two-dimensional drawings and a three-dimensional sculpture, which unfolds to many sides, front and back. Although the style of the drawing within the work might evoke comic books, it is original and one of a kind, so precious. Made to the scale of the artist's body, the length of the work unfolded is Natalie's actual height, and the height is equivalent to the length of her hand. Natalie intends viewers to interact with the piece like they would any book. The work is meant to be viewed intimately, held in the hands of one person at a time, like any book. Each viewer decides on the duration of their engagement with the work. Just as their hands touch and interact with the piece, viewers will be reminded of Natalie's hands making it. In this way, the book serves as a surrogate hug between artist and viewer.
I'm a collection of abstractions. There's a lot of me that feels out of reach, that feels confusing, that feels like too much. A small part of me thinks I should crave the warmth that comes from the closeness of others. Another bigger part of me finds that idea so repulsive I can't stand it. I know that I shouldn't become embarrassed when thinking about intimacy, but I do, and it feels like the only honest reaction I have. But I do have a plan to reconcile these parts of me back together again so we can make some progress on being a concrete person. My self-induced group therapy regime is to get the abstract parts of myself to talk to each other in the spaces they inhabit in my mind. I want to be able to understand them and the environment that shapes who they are, if that even matters. Their sharp and jagged edges or impermeable lumpy bodies need to be coaxed out of their nooks and crannies so I can cup them in my arms all together. I then want to be able to offer them to others to put into their hands because it's the only time I'll ever be held.